now he's learning how to yell. Yesterday was crawling, today yelling. When we stay at people's homes, just informally I'm sharing, when we stay at people's homes, we come to stay at your home next time. There's 2 ways you need to prepare. Number 1, to sleep way less than you're used to sleeping. Number 2, to eat way more than you're used to eating. So way less sleep and way more eating. And many times people are not used to that, so they get too tired and too full. So I'm giving you advance warning on how to train. We can begin. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Back in the day, when there were kings, when merchants used to go through a kingdom, they would give rare gifts to the kings to win their favor for safe passage. One day, a merchant was going through a kingdom, and when he met the king, he gave him 2 most rare Persian falcons. Very young, fresh Persian falcons. And that king was most appreciative of this gift, and this merchant carried on. And they were young, they didn't know how to fly. So the king called the animal caretaker, I don't know what that name would be, in the kingdom. He said, train these falcons. When I look out my window, I want to see both of them to be the highest birds in the sky. So the caretaker began. Training. After a couple of weeks, the king looked out of his window and he saw one of these falcons flying freely, high in the air. And he went to see that animal caretaker and said, how come I only see one falcon? The other falcon's right here. The animal caretaker said, I just can't get this other falcon to take off. I've tried everything, the same that I've tried with this other falcon. And the king threatened him, saying, you better find a way to find both of these birds in the air. He didn't know what to do. So he sent word to all of the people in the kingdom who work with animals. 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks later, so this is the first month then, the king is looking outside and he's seeing both falcons in the air, flying high, well. And he's very happy. His gift is being used well. And he went to that animal caretaker and said, what did you do to get that second falcon to be in the air? He said, I didn't do anything. But a local farmer came and figured out what the problem was. What was the problem? he came and he cut off the branch that falcon was sitting on. And that falcon had no choice but to fly. This is a story about us. Are you that first falcon that makes use of the opportunities that you have as a human being, as someone who can think? Or are we that second falcon that is sitting in a comfort zone? When we are comfortable, we don't change. If you're comfortable in your seat right now, you're definitely not going to like the next practice. When you're uncomfortable, then you're ready for that change. We're comfortable, which is why we don't like change. And if you extrapolate this even more, why we fear death is because this is change in the extreme. But for someone who's fine with change, death is like traveling. I thought about this a lot. For someone who has traveled to all countries, suppose you're that person, where do you go next? The next best way to travel is if you can see those same countries from someone else's eyes. And I think death would be like that because you're picking up new hardware, new eyes. What a most fascinating experience. We're scared because we're comfortable. This fear happens in overt ways and covert ways. A covert way that we're afraid of change because of our comfort is we always want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. What's going to happen in the future, no? Many times when people meet me for the first time, they'll say, Panditji, can you read my forehead? Tell me what job I'm going to have. Or better yet is, on Saturday morning when you watch Indian TV channels, and you're thinking you're in a troubled time in your life. I think Shani is living with you, correct? Rahu's around somewhere too. So what to do? All you have to do is call someone in New Jersey, send them $500 and they'll send you a yantra, correct? And all of the unknown will become known. But in the most simple way, we're afraid of what may happen. But there's a fine possibility that what may happen may not happen. We're afraid of what may not happen, but there's a fine possibility that may happen, isn't it? Pujya Swami Tejamananda said, in life, you either get what you expected, in which case you shouldn't cry, or you get what you don't expect, in which case you couldn't have done anything, so don't cry. Either way, expected, unexpected, don't cry. We are exploring fear. Face everything and smile. Don't face everything and cry. Face everything and rise. Don't face everything and run. And we will know that we're flowing with this workshop when we evolve from having a lust for life to a love for life. Lust for Life is a famous song by which singer? Iggy Pop, no? Fair enough. I can say anything right now. Okay, and we don't care. Iggy Pop sings a song that's called Lust for Life. It really is a Rajasic sentiment. You know, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? But evolution is to look at this from Sattva. When someone is filled with light, they have a love for it. What can I give? What can I give? What can I give? So let us keep an open head and an open heart, hoping that this turns into open hands in the way that we live. We are exploring fear in a workshop that is in a controlled environment. When you came in here, nobody checked what your blood pressure was. Nobody checked your income. Nobody checked what education your parents had. This is a controlled environment where there's no judgment. I don't know if you saw the mat outside. It said, keep your shoes and egos outside. When you go, you can pick them up again, but while you're here, shoes and egos outside. Why a controlled environment is important? Because then we have time to think. How many of you are coming directly from work? How many of you missed a meal today because there wasn't enough time? A lot of us. How many of you were working while you were eating? Studying while you were eating? All of us. Who has time anymore? That's why our fad word now is I'm busy. Here, you have time. Those doors are locked, remember? And with this time, we are thinking, hoping that if we do this for 6 hours, 4 workshops, 90 minutes each, this will become a habit. That we will create time to think. When you don't create time to think, what are you called then? Artificial intelligence, no? We keep talking about AI. We are AI. Body's organic, brain is automatic. Thinking is the unique aspect of, what is the Sanskrit word for human? Manava. Manava is someone who has a man. Man is that which thinks. And if I don't think, then I'm really more like an inefficient animal than a human. See, animals can run fast. They can bite hard. I'm like them, but I can't run fast or bite hard. Time to think. What did we think about yesterday? A main thought from yesterday was, there is no fear that is universal. Our lists went from large to 0. No article, no being, no circumstance is intrinsically fear-filled. Some love skiing, some hate skiing. Some love night driving, some hate night driving. Some enjoy being married, some don't enjoy being married. Some try to get out of college as soon as possible, some stay in college forever. They just keep getting more degrees. No article, no being, no circumstance is intrinsically fearful. That was the main thought yesterday. Another thought was, the symptom of fear is adharma. What is the English word for adharma? Disintegration, irresponsibility, failure. When fear is present in the body, mind, intellect, I begin to fail. I begin to be irresponsible. There's disintegration. And the last thought was focused on yesterday. If we do take public speaking as being a great fear, as listeners, a way to take out the oxygen from this fire is to focus on people's strengths. Because then when you're here, you're going to hope that people are doing the same. And I'll tell you a secret about public speaking. How many of you are in Toastmasters? Have gone through that?
No.
Okay. Here's the greatest secret about public speaking. First, seriously, and then humorously. Seriously first. The best public speakers are also the best listeners. It's because they're the best listeners that they know how to speak. They can feel someone. They know what to say, what not to say. Because they're listening not just with their ears, but with their eyes, with their heart. Now humorously. Suppose I call him to come and speak. What are you all doing while he's speaking? You're thinking you may be called next. You're thinking, what would you say? You're thinking, what wouldn't you say? So actually, none of you are listening to him. So the secret in public speaking is to know that nobody's listening to you. You can say whatever you want, Right? We learned yesterday, just smile and nod. And don't think you don't know this. When we go to dinner parties where there's a lot of people and a lot of noise, is anyone talking to each other? People are opening their mouth, but you're just smiling and nodding as if you can hear that person. And that person knows, and they don't want to talk about anything serious either. So they just keep saying, my shoes are black. My shoes are black. And yes, yes. You try it at work on Monday. I'll give you some context to this. In Chinmaya Mission, when you meet someone, what do you say? Hariom. Hariom. What does it sound like? Hariom. Hariom. When I say Hariom to some people, they say, I'm good, how are you? I never said how are you, I said Hariom. But it's like a muscle, it's an instinct. So on Monday, when someone says, how are you? You make up something insane that happened. You were driving to Portland and you had a flat tire and then a deer came and hit your car, or something like that. Someone is going to say, good, me too. How are you? Good, me too, right? Nobody's listening. So that's the secret of taking oxygen away from the fear of public speaking. But as a speaker, we focused on an acronym. How to be less afraid in this isolated incident. P is prepare. R is reflect. E, engage. And P, practice. Do it again. From the time we're born to the time we die, all we're doing is communicating, isn't it? Even if I'm holding someone I love's hand, as I'm dying, I slowly let go of that grip. I'm still communicating with them. Practice. Which leads us to our practice. How many of you don't have blindfolds? Do not have blindfolds? Please put your hand up. Okay, organizers, do we have enough extra blindfolds? Does anyone here have extra blindfolds? If you do, start delivering them to people who don't. Scarves like that work. So the scarves you're wearing, sweaters, anything to cover your eyes. If you have glasses, please put them on the piano. Glasses on the piano, please cover your eyes. Doors are locked. These are not optional practices. Yeah, go for it. Please put your blindfold on and stand up in an open space, not where your chair is, in these open spaces. Everyone in the room has to have a blindfold on other than me. Everyone. Put your blindfold on and just wait there. If you have a chunni, a scarf, a sweater, pass it along to someone. You don't have to look good. Nobody's going to see you. Sheila, can you turn this up? The whole system, do you know how to turn the volume up? It has to be done up there?
Yeah, it has to be done up there.
Is it too complicated?
Yeah, it's a lot, Vivekji.
Sanjay, see if either of those mics is louder than this one.
Hello. This is hello.
Hello? Are they all the same?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Do you need No. You don't need to hear me, you need to hear something else. Blindfolds on, let's go! We do not start until I can't see anyone's eyes. And spread out away from where you're sitting. Be in an open space. It's for your own safety. Make sure nothing is in your hands, okay? Hands have to be free.
Does everybody like sorry?
Okay, I still see a few people, their eyes. Okay, listening carefully now. Sometimes when you go to people's homes, they have corny sayings. What is a corny saying relating to what we're about to do? You all know this. What's that corny saying?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you? No, not that.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, that could work, but not that. Dance.
Dance like nobody's
Like
watching.
no one is watching. This is called Club Sattva. In Club Sattva, there are not good dancers or bad dancers or good-looking people or bad-looking people. This is a non-judgmental environment. So non-judgmental that even if you wanted to judge someone, you can't.
You're watching Vivek.
I have been in this circumstance too many times to judge you. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to play some awesome music off my laptop. And all of you are literally going to dance. And I'm going to walk around, and if I see, my eyes are still open, I still have my glasses on, that you're not dancing like no one is watching you. You're dancing like someone is watching you. If I see that you're judging yourself, or that you're feeling judged, then I'm going to bring other people to dance with you. To make sure that you're really not comfortable. That you're outside of your comfort zone. Before we begin the night at Club Sattva, do any of our clubbers have any questions? Any questions from anyone?
How long is this?
How long is this? Remember I said don't worry about the future. All right. Here we go. I'm going to try to do this through the mic and laptop. I wish it was louder, but it's not going to be louder. So, whatever you can hear, begin. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Here comes Amitabh Bachchan. Blindfold on. Move your hands, your hips. Yes, Megha. Very good. Yes, Sitaji. Spread out. Krishna, well done. Awesome. Move around. There's nobody here other than you and Amitabh Bachchan. Keep moving. DJ switched the song. I wish it was louder. Visualize being on the train. You're on the train right now. Let me see your hands. You're speaking to the trees. It's about to rain and there's trees around there. Chinmaya, let's go. I'm watching you. Yes, Sujata. Shanti ji, too much Shanti. Sing! Hey! Yes, Mahek. Sanju, if you can sing, let's see some dancing. Yeah, Sunil, good. Very good. I like it. King of Pop is in here now. You all know who this is, right? Imagine the white glove. Imagine the zombies around you. Michael's here. Yes, Sanjit, good. There you go. So good. Sita G, let's go. Michael Jackson's here. I want to hear you. 2 simple English words.
Beat it.
Here's the chorus. Your leg, do the moonwalk. Chawlas, good work. All of you.
Beat it. Beat it.
Archers, move. One of the youngest people here. Let's see some energy. And how is it as a last? How does a night at the club end? Slow song. You have to dance with the person next to you or persons next to you or yourself. But you have to do this in a slow way. It's a beautiful song. You can interpret this dance. You all know this song? Benny King? Stand By Me? Whoever's around you. Dance with yourself, that's fine. Imagine you're dancing with someone. No arms crossed. Now you can slowly take your blindfolds off. Smile at the person next to you. And then have a seat.
That's all you say about meeting costs?
Have a seat, everyone. Sit close. Why sit so far away?
I'm straight up sweating. I am so warm.
Big Joe trying to get our workouts in, you know?
Yeah. This is free exercise. Okay. Firstly, I've been able to be in Club Satwa as a DJ with hundreds of people. This has been one of the best clubs that I've been to. One of the best. This is a great exercise for you to do at your homes when you have people over. So simple, so meaningful. Tell me about your experience. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? You can raise your hand and then I can acknowledge and you can share. Yes, Kirtana.
You could actually listen to the music, so you don't have to thinking about scenes. It's all just
Yeah, you can finally listen to a song. When was the last time we actually only listened to a song? Unitasking. And how beautiful it is, no? Like Michael Jackson's Beat It is so powerful. And? Yes.
It is nice not to worry about, thinking about what others might think or how bad I am a dancer. So if someone is watching, then I'm always conscious of it. So it feels nice to be not conscious of it.
Mm-hmm. How light you feel, no?
Yeah.
This is a club. So in the sense, when you have classically trained dancers who are better and worse. In a club, nobody knows how to dance. So this is so real. Yes, Sanjay.
I was just going to share that I felt a lot cooler than I probably looked, but I couldn't see myself, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and one felt a lot cooler than they looked. That's what's important, no? Yes.
I noticed that I didn't feel self-conscious singing, but everybody could still hear me, and I'm not a good singer. So it's interesting how taking one sense away makes you not feel self-conscious about other things as well.
Totally. The first time I did this exercise, it was a full hour of just this. Like this type of activity. Part of it was you had to read a poem while everyone else was blindfolded. Read a poem or sing a song. So there was that component that you're deepening this where people know it's you because they know your voice, but you still feel very free. Yes. Ramya, right?
Yeah. I felt that there was fewer distractions. I mean, I was doing one thing and I was enjoying that one thing and doing at home or at work, we have 1,000 and one things we're doing and thinking. We don't really focus on one thing.
Yeah.
So I guess, dropping one of our senses helped to enhance reality.
These two were cutting rug like it's their job. They were tearing up the dance floor over here. Not together, by themselves. When Surdas, I don't know if he was born blind or became blind, but he thanked Bhagwan for being blind because all he saw was Bhagwan Krishna. Very powerful. Anyone else? Yes.
It was interesting dancing to a slow song by yourself, right? How often do we do that? It made you almost like fall in love with yourself a little bit. So that was nice.
Totally. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else? I share with people that they should go on dates with their parents. And initially they cringe at that idea. But since when, and you see what dating has become, it's all about capitalism. Buying stuff, doing stuff, as well as romance. But in actuality, a date is where there's no distraction. You should date your parents, date your siblings, date yourself. When was the last time you got to know Jay? Dating yourself is the simplest, cheapest date. Go on. Today was like that. Any other observations? Yes.
I felt a little different. Normally when I dance with my kids,
Yeah.
I miss the energy. Like I get that energy when I see them. It just felt weird dancing without that energy of my kids. I don't dance otherwise, but I do it.
And I'm sure your kids have a lot of energy because they can do what we do without blindfolds. True? Anyone else? Megha? Megha, I thought was going to break the window at your dancing on the platform over there. Tell us what was going on with you.
I was just I love to dance. I was just having a good time. I noticed that I like bumped into things, and I didn't. It was gonna be interesting to see where I ended up.
Yes.
I don't know. I was just having a good time.
Yeah.
In general, if I'm dancing and Gopi's in the room, I'm really embarrassed for him, and it was great not to have that.
Yeah. He was doing fine over there. Yeah. Yes.
Usually before dancing, there's like some sort of like preparation ritual, like getting ready or standing in a long line or paying a certain amount of money. So I felt like this was just very like free.
Yeah. What you all did, in my mind, I compared to swimming. What's one of the best parts of swimming?
You feel very light and free.
You don't have body weight. Astronauts train. When they train in water, there's no natural body weight. When you swim, you just let go. And if swimming can bring so much ease of just letting go of this body weight, imagine letting go of one's mental weight, which is exponentially heavier. That's what this was an exercise in. Connecting this to our Shastras, which is most important, our scriptures. When Hanumanji meets Bhagwan Rama for the first time, how does Hanumanji look? Like a brahmachari. He's this young boy. You think some of the kids that are here, like a young boy dressed like I'm looking right now. And Hanumanji has this dialogue with Bhagwan Rama, where finally he's in tears saying, Bhagwan, did you forget about me? And he says, Bhagwan, how come you didn't tell me who you are? And Bhagwan Rama says, how come you didn't tell me who you are? As long as Hanumanji had his mask on, Bhagwan had his mask on. As soon as Hanumanji took his mask off, Bhagwan took his mask off. God is just a mirror. As long as I feel I'm this gender, I'm this appearance, I'm this coolness, and there's so many layers stopping me from knowing myself. But when I start to unmask myself, and you go all the way past the body, mind, intellect, ego, what remains? Infinity, joy, completingness. If you can think of a period in the day when you are most natural, what period of the day are you most natural?
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning and last moment at night. Where even if you're sleeping beside someone, you don't know them either. You let go of your body weight. There's just you and your mind, really. And then in the morning, that's the most natural part. It happens with us. We're so used to escaping, that's the scariest part of our day too. We can't sleep because we thought about what was the point of today. The morning is just as hard. Club Sattva doesn't have to be a club, right? Driving can be driving Sattva, eating Sattva. You put any verb in there, any space-time matter. Who decides that? Not a blindfold. I'm driving my blindfold on. This is not about sight. This is about vision. Fair enough? Really, the next time you have a get-together, you should do this. Maybe as a center, one Sunday. Just tell people to bring their blindfolds. It'll be so fun. We'll continue with philosophy. Oh. there's a symptom, what else has to be there? A cause. If there's an effect, there has to be a cause. Maybe those relate better. I'd like to say if there's a symptom, there has to be a source. The source of that symptom. Yesterday we focused on the symptom of fear. And we are not just fear casually, we're learning how to think. We just want to meet Chinmaya and has shared this with us many times in the ashram. More important than what to think is how to think. What to think is limited to that context. How to think becomes unlimited, past space, time, and matter. From symptoms to source. I'd asked all of you to think about the 3 universal fears we all have. One's a given, we mentioned it many times. The fear of death. What's another fear we all have? Fear of failure is not one of them. Ignorance is also not one of them. Unknown is another. Fear of death, fear of unknown. And another one?
Sorrow.
Discomfort is not, change is not, sorrow. Fear of sorrow. Death, unknown, sorrow are our fears. And if you say pain, losing someone, etc., it's all blended into one of these. I'm afraid of public speaking because I'm afraid of failure. But I'm afraid of failure because of the sorrow that's associated with it. But if you delete sorrow from failure, you become Edison, no? Edison failed and failed and failed, and it didn't matter. For us, we fail once. It's the sorrow that stops us from trying again. These 3 fears are most informative because you only fear what is different. You only fear what is different. I'll open this up lightly and then deeply. How many of you have seen the movie Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
Cool Runnings is a great movie about a Jamaican bobsled team. And they arrive in Calgary in 1988 in the Winter Olympics. And they're sitting in this sled, and all of the other participants are laughing at them, not with them. And one of these sledders, they're all black men. He says, "It seems like people don't like us," he says to the person behind him. And the person behind him says, "People are afraid of what's different." They've never seen someone with black skin in the Olympics, perhaps, I don't know all the details, and definitely not sledding, and definitely not from Jamaica. We're like that too still, no? 2018, we're still fearing that which is different. And there's a story I've read in our scriptures that's really powerful, that communicates this. How many of you have been to a carnival before? Like a fun house? And you've been to place where there's like a house of mirrors, and you look fatter or skinnier or taller, or like Snapchat, right? You can change your face like that. That's Snapchat that does that. So you've seen that before. And when you go and you do that, it's so fun. You keep making yourself really small and then really tall. What if a dog goes into that house of mirrors? When they see that mirror, what do they see? 100 other dogs. When they see 100 other dogs, what do? Bark. And 100 other dogs are barking at them. And they lose it in that house of mirrors because they're afraid of what is different. When you look in the mirror, you know it's also scary, but you know that is you. Tell me, what is the opposite of death? Opposite of death? Life. Another word? Existence. And the Sanskrit word for that? Sat. What's the opposite of unknown? Known, or awareness in the Sanskrit word? Chit. And the opposite of sorrow? Ananda, or joy. every time we're afraid of death, unknown sorrow, life is teaching us who we are. You only fear what you're not. So if I'm afraid of death, that means I am existence. If I'm afraid of the unknown, I'm awareness. If I'm afraid of sorrow, it's because I am joy. I think this one insight can change how we judge ourselves, what we believe our potential is. And this is all beautifully depicted in the life of Prince Arjuna. Prince Arjuna is an alpha personality. If he were on Shakti.com, he'd have the most hits. From females and males. I would also. See who I should be like too. And when he shows up on this battlefield in Kurukshetra, there's millions in front of him, millions behind him. He picks up his bow just to talk to Bhagavan Krishna. Imagine I'm speaking to these young adults only and I pick up my mic. Hey! Right, I just have to lean forward and speak to you. Prince Arjuna arrives at Kurukshetra where he feels he's the same as Dharma. He's identified with righteousness. But then the moha kicks in. Moha is confusion. He thinks he's different than Dharma. He thinks he's the same as the Pandavas. More confusion. He thinks he's different than the Pandavas. He thinks he's only himself. Swartha. His only artha is swa, himself, or selfishness. And how this is shown, Prince Arjuna wants to run away, correct? Face everything and run. And if he does, what's going to happen to the morale of the Pandavas? It will start to fall too. There's more Kauravas than Pandavas, correct? 4 units more. These are Kauravas. If Prince Arjuna leaves, they have Bhishma, Drona, etc. on this side. They're going to crush the Pandavas, yes? But again, they're Kauravas. They're ready to disrobe their own daughter-in-law, whatever relationship, in front of all of them. What are they going to do next? Go after the women and children, correct? They're ready to do that while in power. When they're not in power, definitely this is next. So you have to extrapolate that. And after they destroy all of the women and children, what's next? Find Arjuna. While they're in incognito, they tried to find him, right? While he's on the run by himself, they're going that way. Arjuna thought he was different from Dharma, different from Pandava. He thought he was only himself. And that too at a physical, mental, intellectual level. Selfish. Chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is fear. Chapter 2 is the reason for that fear, selfishness. Then begins chapter 3, 4, 5, become more and more and more selfless. So deep is Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan Krishna doesn't give Prince Arjuna more weapons. He's not suffering from a capability crisis. He's known as Sabyasachi, which means he has no weekend. He is suffering from an identity crisis. He's forgotten who he is, who he's the same as. And so Bhagavan Krishna gives him knowledge, self-knowledge. And finally, Prince Arjuna feels Advaita. Oneness. In oneness, there's no one who's different, correct? And that's why we say Advaita Abhaya. In oneness, there is fearlessness. The source of the symptom is that which is different. At a very deep level, what is different than death and the unknown and sorrow is existence, awareness, and joy. I'm connecting this some more. The nature of the mind is doubt. The nature of our mind is doubt. As you're dancing, if you're identified with your mind, you're thinking, what if some people don't have their blindfolds on? You're doubting me, he's probably recording all of this, right? The nature of the mind is doubt. And the mind has made us forget who we are. And when you forget who you are, you start to project. We studied that yesterday, correct? What does the mind do? Projects. When I can't see the post, I project the ghost. Can't see the snake? The rope. Actually, can't see the snake is worse. It's bad to mistake a rope for a snake. It's worse to mistake a snake for a rope. The mind projects. The mind makes us forget our nature of existence, awareness, joy. It makes us believe that we are subject to death and the unknown and sorrow. And Bhagavan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna this clearly in chapter 4. He says, you and I are the same, but you've forgotten who you are, and I've not forgotten. That's why you're crying and I'm smiling. Bhagavan Krishna is in the battlefield too. He's actually more vulnerable than Prince Arjuna. But he's enjoying. That's why his name is Achyuta. Achyuta means the one who never falls. More deep than that is the one who never forgets. No? You need to hold on to someone who will never fall if you're falling. If two falling people hold on to each other, they're going to create more hardship. The mind has made us forget who we are. And so the mind has taken unity and divided it. The mind has taken unity and divided it to girls and boys, rich people and poor people, smart people and dumb people. The mind has taken infinity and made this many finites. You're a finite, and you're a finite, and you're a finite. Don't we see this in religions? Jesus is the only way. Allah is the only God. Shiva is Mahadev, not Bhagavan Vishnu. See how we've taken that which is infinite and made it many finites. And when you make the infinite many finites, what do you do then? Fight. And that's what people fight over. It's not religion, it's their interpretation of religion that they fight over. But if they interpreted religion fully, no one would fight. We'd be like us looking in the mirror instead of a dog looking in a mirror. This is what we do because of the nature of the mind. Have you ever thought about a second? Who determined what a second is? An hour, a day, a century, a millisecond, a nanosecond, a gigasecond. We just keep taking the present moment, divide, 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 when all we've ever experienced is the present. Even if I go to regrets of the past, how am I experiencing that? In the present. How do I go to anxieties in the future? In the present. I've never not experienced the present, but I love measuring time. Because my mind doubts this idea that there's only the present. Once again, the source of the symptoms is that which is different, and the mind is making us doubt. Going deeper into this, the mind is of the nature of thoughts. The mind's nature is doubt, the mind's nature is thoughts. We've all heard so many times that the mind is just a flow of thoughts. Where are these thoughts going? They're making us more and more extrovert. The mind is taking us away more and more from existence, awareness, joy, to death, unknown, sorrow. That's the nature of the mind. Acharya Shankara says in Vivekji that a thought is a ripple in consciousness. If you go to an awesome lake that is completely still, don't we have this propensity to find something to throw in there? Instead of just appreciating and leaving that lake alone, we keep finding things to throw in there. First stones, then logs, then people. And when you throw things into that lake, they create ripples. Where do those ripples go? Towards the shore. Extrovert, correct? Those ripples don't go back to the source. So nature of the mind is thoughts, and think about where these thoughts are going. Towards fear, not towards courage or fearlessness. Tell me a famous proverb about fear. You all know it. You've all tweeted it before. What's this famous proverb about fear? There is nothing to fear but fear itself. That's a 50% truth. Just like Shakespeare said, I think, therefore I am. It's I am, therefore I can think. If you're not there, how can you think? It's a 50% truth. There's nothing to fear, but fear itself is not a full statement. The corrected proverb is, there's nothing to fear but the fear thought. Fear is just a thought. And when you have the fear thought, what do you experience? Fear. And if you don't have a fear thought, you don't experience fear. I don't know if it was with all of you, but at the hospital yesterday, I asked some people what time they slept. Did I ask you this yesterday too? No, okay. What time did you sleep last night?
11.
Honestly? Okay. What time did you sleep? 1 o'clock. See, there's an honest answer. What time did you sleep? 10:30. All of them are lying. Because if they know what time they slept, that means they're not sleeping, right? You can't look 10:30 and I'm sleeping right now. But as soon as you don't know the time generally, what are you doing? Sleeping. Isn't it? If I have a lot of fear and then I sleep, what happened to the fear? There's no fear because there's no thoughts. When there's no thoughts, you're sleeping. And if fear is a thought and I go to sleep, then there's no fear. That's why people, when it comes to facing everything and escaping, sleep is an ideal escape. But we forget that we have to wake up. But that's what people don't want to do, right? Keep drinking, keep doing drugs, stay in that bed. There's nothing to fear but fear, the fear thought. In contemplation, those who can go deep into contemplation, where you transcend thoughts, you transcend every vice. Stress is a thought, jealousy is a thought, desire is a thought. Transcending all of those, that is contemplation. So tomorrow, I want you to tweet out the right proverb, okay? You explain to them, you teach them. So the first part of the mind, I said, the nature of the mind is doubts. The mind has made me forget who I am, and so I'm afraid. The next is, the nature of the mind is thoughts. I've forgotten who I am, so I'm thinking a whole lot, and my thoughts keep making me more scared. In chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, who's speaking the most? Duryodhana. He's speaking the most because he's thinking the most in a negative. He's the most scared. Bhishma is not scared. So what does he do? He blows his conch. Let's start. Very deep icons here. I'll share one more insight into the mind. The nature of the mind is desires. The nature of the mind is desires. Where there's desire, what emotion is coming next? What's next after desire? Anger. Why? There are finite objects. Let's say that piano over there. But there's infinite number of people who want that object. One person's going to get it. That person has a desire. They bypass anger and go to greed, isn't it? Now I have a piano and you don't, sucker. And the rest of us, we get stuck with anger. I deserve that piano. Bhagavan Krishna shares in chapter 16. He says, Trividam, narakasyedam, Dwara, that the three gates to hell are Kama, Krodha, Lobha. The nature of the mind is Kama, or desire, what's naturally coming? Krodha. And also Lobha. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. So now let's think. What are you desiring? Rewind 18 hours. All that you did today. What did you desire today? To not be here right now. What did you desire today? Bhagavan Krishna shares in Bhagavad Gita. Our desires are propelled by yoga and kshema. Yoga is what I don't have, and kshema is to preserve or protect what I do have. So, procurement and preservation. Yoga and kshema is what we desire. Now, if you're honest about what you desire, I'll show this to you in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom is physiological needs. What did you desire today? To go to Amazon Go and buy lots of stuff to eat. Above that, safety. Above that, belonging. Above that, esteem. And at the top is actualization. How many of our desires were towards actualization? All day we desired physiological needs, stuff we can eat and drink. All day we worked for safety. How many square feet of a home do we need? How many beds are you going to sleep in? How many fridges of food can you eat? Belonging! People go insane with social media, isn't it? You post something on Facebook, and you're just waiting for that first like, first like, first like. No first like, I don't think people like me. Right? Facebook depression. Where is the desire for esteem? You know what esteem is in a deep sense? Connectivity. Not Wi-Fi connectivity. People connectivity. The desire for being independently joyous. Actualization. We already have the lower pyramids addressed, filled for, but we don't think. So we keep on working and working and working for those lower parts. We're hurting ourselves. Our nature is not the mind. Our nature is not the mind. The best parts of our day are when we are quiet. If you think about the happiest parts of your day, it was when the mind was quiet. It was not due to any external circumstance. You found quietude. And maybe you were driving here and someone was road raging and you just let them go. How much more peace you experience by letting them pass you than trying to play that game. A really fun airline to use when it comes to these life lessons is Southwest. One flight I went on, they took two bottle caps, and they put a car on each, these small cars, and they put it on the front of the plane, and they said whichever car makes it to the back of the plane as the plane's taking off gets twice as many peanuts as the rest. I thought, what a great way to alleviate the stress on people's minds. Everyone was cheering, go car on the right, go car on the left. Everyone forgot that we were flying. Now when you go to airports, you have those cute dogs, right? You have to pet that dog because TSA is there. I have to carry my bag. So much stress. In another flight, as I was leaving, the lady said, if there's an impatient driver around you, just let them go. And you enjoy your drive. I was like, whoa, deep Vedanta. At the end of this flight. We love quietude. I see that in my day. When Vyasa goes to sleep, we love it. We love him, but we also love when he sleeps. When he is quiet. Our nature is not doubts or thoughts or desires, which is why Rishi Patanjali, we're all yoga students. Tell me, what is the second sutra in the Yoga Sutras? Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Go backwards. Nirodha means to transcend. Transcend what? Vritti, thoughts. Where are the thoughts? Chitta, in the mind. Yoga is transcending the thoughts. If I was my thoughts, how can I transcend that? But Rishi Patanjali is teaching us, you are not your thoughts. Our nature is infinite. Who do you love the most? Next to me. Who do you love the most? Yourself. Who do you fear the least? Yourself. Where there is love, there is no fear. Where there is fear, there is no love. In Vedanta, we say where there is oneness, there is shanti. Where there is two-ness, kranti. What does kranti mean? Anger. Now you have someone to blame. Even though it's your mistake, there's no one to blame if it's just you. But if there's someone else, finger comes out, correct? This is the worst finger on our hands. You can interpret whatever you want, but this is the worst finger on our hands. And where there's more than two, brandi. What does brandi mean? Politics. So imagine you're a family of 5 and you have to choose where to go to dinner tonight. Your kids are going to collude against you. Politics, right? We'll all vote together against our parents. Brandi. The whole world has this political agenda. If not that, there's anger management challenges. But if I know my nature is one, you are one, there is only shanti, which is what I love. That is who I am. I'll complete our philosophy with a story, and we'll shift to the practice. A husband and wife were sleeping, and there was a loud bang that came from their bottom floor. But only the wife heard. So she shakes her husband. Are you sleeping? It's funny. Just visualize that. Are you sleeping? He says, I was sleeping. Did you hear that noise? No, I didn't hear anything. There was a loud bang downstairs. You should go check. He says, you heard it? You go check. So she starts working on his ego. If I knew you were such a coward, I wouldn't have married you in the first place. So he says, fine. He gets up. And he opens his closet door and takes out a golf club. He starts walking down these stairs. And with each step, he's tightening that grip on that golf club. His muscles are tightening, his heart is beating faster. And he's on that bottom step. He's so tight. He turns the light on, and his son had come home from a party and had dropped a glass. And with that golf club, he puts it down and goes upstairs and sleeps. Until he saw his son, he saw a difference, no? Kranti, Brandi, whatever you want to take it. But as soon as he saw with his intellect that oneness, shanti. There was no doubts, there was no thoughts, there was no desires, shanti. All that you know about other religions, and all you know about Sanatana Dharma, tell me what is a strength of Sanatana Dharma? A strength. Choice, okay. Guru, yes.
It's universal.
It's universal.
Freedom.
Okay. Samvada. Samvada is the opportunity to ask questions, to clarify doubts. That is the strength of Sanatana Dharma. If you think of the Upanishads, someone who knows more is teaching someone who wants to know more, correct? Bhagavad Gita is the same way. In Ramayana, there's 4 dialogues going on. Bhagavan Shiva is teaching Mother Parvati, Garuda is learning from Bharadwaj. If you study Bhagavatam, who knows who's talking to who? There are layers and layers of dialogue that's happening. Samvada. That is also the strength of Chinmaya mission, is that there are people who want to know, there are people who are trained in knowing a little bit more, and they both learn from each other. Today's practice portion is us learning from each other. If you have any questions about anything I shared today, yesterday, in general, ask. I will try to answer. Any questions on anyone's mind? Please stand up, tell us your name, and ask freely.
My name is Guru.
Really?
Yes.
It's that easy.
So you talked about the one beyond the mind. And so what are the, can you talk about some of the properties of that? And how
Properties of going past the mind?
Properties of, let's say, the entity beyond the mind that you talked about.
Okay.
Of who we really are.
Yes.
And how it connects, or how it, does it have any influence on the mind?
Sure.
For instance.
What is past the mind and how it affects the mind? That is the question right now. In Vedanta, we have a thought process called the Panchakosha Viveka. I'll try to make this very simple. Kosha means sheath. If you have a sheath in your house, what else is going to be there? What is implied? There's something within that sheath, right? And whatever is in that sheath is going to be more valuable than the sheath, isn't it? You wear a coat because your body is more important. Your body heat is more important. More important than these glasses are my eyes. And on and on and on. The mind is a sheath. It is a covering. And since this is a covering, there has to be that which is being covered. In Sanskrit, that word is Atma. Now this will be fun. Tell me what Atma means. What does Atma mean? Soul. Okay, what does soul mean?
Our inner voice.
Okay, what does inner voice mean?
Soul is God.
God?
The life energy within you.
Life energy within you. We just answer poetic questions with more poetry. That's what we do. When you think about these words, you have to think of a word that you can live. Atma means the technicality of Atma, that which is closest. And who's the closest person to you? If that's your wife, not to you. You. When you say your heart breaks, you go like this, correct? If my girlfriend breaks up with me, nothing happens to this organ. This is just a muscle. But I feel I've lost something. Who's Vivek here? I don't say, here's Vivek. I start slapping my thighs, my calves. This is Vivek right here, right? Atma. The self, we say in English. The nature of Atma is existence, awareness, joy. Awareness is often compared to light. The nature of this is light, like the sun. Now tell me, does the sun illumine or is the sun illumination? Does the sun illumine or is the sun illumination?
Both.
Can't be both. One is a verb, one is a noun. I don't think in English you can be a verb and noun at the same time, I think. The sun is illumination. Do you think the sun knows what we're doing right now? Does the sun illumine saints and illumine murderers too? The sun is illumination. There's no solar eclipse from the perspective of the sun. Only light. Atman is the same way. This light shines. It's not shining in a particular entity, but it shines, because that's the nature of light. And around it is the ego, and the intellect, and the mind, and the breath, and the body. That's the 5 sheets. So with fear, if you just stay at the mind, there will always be fear, because my mind and your mind are different. Where there's two-ness, kranti, or vice is purity. Do you ever go into the bathroom mirror or any mirror and start looking in the mirror and feel lusty about yourself? You are a good-looking young man. Want to go out sometime? You don't feel lust towards yourself. You don't try to overpower yourself. But you can feel lust towards another. Power with another. So that's why we can never transcend fear until we go deeper than the mind. When Rishi Patanjali says transcend the thoughts. We always think of transcend as in up. In a subjective science, up is down, as in depth. The nature of Atman is existence, awareness, joy. If you can take one aspect of this multiverse away, by which this multiverse would no longer be there, what would it be? Think. If you took this part away, the multiverse is gone. It's not energy. Think in a black hole, there's no energy. It is existence. Existence is the lowest common denominator. Existence is that which is fundamental. On existence, everything else is there. Existence even gives place to non-existence, correct? Non-existence still has to exist. That's the nature of Atma. When I know I'm existence, existence is not born, so existence cannot die. One lives in such a dynamic, giving way. And that's just 2 minutes of me sharing on this, but all of our Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, keep describing who you are from a million different perspectives so there's clarity. Yeah, Guru. Now you are the Guru. And questions from anyone? Yes. Krishna, right? Guru, Krishna. Listen to these names.
What was there before the Big Bang?
What was there before the Big Bang? The Big Bang, the little that we know about it, is a point of energy. Energy depends on existence. Existence does not depend on energy. We depend on the sun. The sun does not depend on us. So before the Big Bang was existence. In a loving way, we describe that as God. God is known as the uncaused cause in a scientific way. In a more loving way, is known as the original parent. Who gave birth to me? My parents. Who gave birth to my parents? My grandparents. Who gave birth to my grandparents? Great-grandparents. And you keep going. But you have to be at a parent who was not ever a child, who was not ever born. Bhagwan Rama, his Jayanti, is this Sunday. If you read Ramayana, it doesn't say Bhagwan Rama was born. What is said is Bhagwan Rama appeared, manifested. That is very different than being born. Our son Vyasa didn't just manifest. I saw him being born. I held him when he was born. The original parent. That's what was there before all other kids, before all other causes and effects. And our samskaras teach this so beautifully. When an infant is 4 months old, this is the 6th samskara, the way or milestone in life. It's called nishkramana. And parents are supposed to take their infant to the mandir or ashram for the first time. And they show them Bhagwan. They show them God. And in some places, there's a huge platform, almost like this stage. Imagine this is Bhagwan, and this is the platform, and then the people are there. You actually leave that infant there. And you turn around and you walk away. And someone who's watching all of this, they take your infant and bring them to you. It's not an exchange program. Not a curly haired kid. Your infant comes back to you. And the message there, number one, for the kids, is that this is your parent. You are anata, as in you are orphan, and you have to find anata, nata. We sing that, anata, nata, dina, but we all sing it, but maybe we're not thinking about it enough. The purpose of your life is to find your parent. And the message for the parents is, this is not your child. This is my child, as in Bhagwan's child. You are a custodian, a caretaker, a well-wisher. Treat this child as if this child is mine. So imagine the Big Bang is like a child. And who gave birth to that child? God. We describe God as existence, awareness, joy. One more question, and then we'll complete. Yes, go ahead. Did you share your name earlier?
No.
What is
my
your
name is Prajakta. This is my first time.
Prajakta?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So we believe that, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And I believe that when I leave this body, when I die, my soul will leave this body and it will move on. So when I was talking to my kids, my son asked me this question. So he's like, where does the soul live inside your body? And I said, I don't know. It's believed to be, the energy points which we have on the body. I know you connect through the chakras over your head. When you meditate, you feel, the energy coming through it. But I couldn't answer the question. So my question was, when we talk about soul inside of you,
Yeah.
where is it exactly?
Sure. I shared a similar thought at the hospital yesterday. When you go to a reception and people are describing the people who just got married, what do they call each other? Soulmates, correct? You found your soulmate. I just want to go up to that mic and say, wrong! They did it! There's only one soul! You can't have a soulmate! The same goes during funerals. There's only one soul, one Atma, one Brahman. I don't care what word you use. That is infinite. You can't have two infinities, correct? If there's two, they're both finite. The soul didn't come from anywhere. The soul is not going anywhere. When we say the soul lives in the body, the correct statement, the soul is the body. What is the soul? Existence, correct? Body is existence. Space is existence. This body will die, but the existence does not die. Soul doesn't go anywhere. The soul is. It is the mind that leaves this body and goes into another mind. Mind ego, I'm being simple here. Goes into another body to continue learning. To continue finding independent joy. And when you found independent joy, then the mind ego also doesn't go into another body. That's called nirvana, where the ego is blown out. His body is hardware, the mind is software. Hardware gets old, but you keep saving your files right in the cloud. And you keep pulling those files back into your computer. Good example, no? The soul is electricity. If I start smashing these lights, can I smash electricity? Electricity is. And that insight, I was sharing in the hospital yesterday, in Indian culture, in Sanatana Dharma, I feel like we've forgotten how to commemorate funerals. They become about grieving. When the only teaching of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the first 47 shlokas of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the next 10 in chapter 2, there's not a single teaching there. Acharya Shankara doesn't even begin his bhasha because there's nothing that's being taught. It's all like a preview. Shloka 11 is the first shloka in teaching, It is the only shloka I'm teaching. Everything is a commentary on that shloka. And the message is, Na anushochanti panditaha. The wise do not grieve. Why don't they grieve? A wise person knows their nature is joy. The idea of living in death is a huge question, comma. That's all auxiliary. Now, when someone dies, there's so much grief. If you take typical Western or American culture, there's too much celebrating also. Everyone's eating whatever they want, drinking whatever they want. For us, death of the body is a graduation. Why? The mind has learned all it can in this body and the field of this body, so it graduates. The moment this mind has learned all it can, this body is redundant. And I gave the example yesterday, when our son is in grade 3, when he's learned all he's learned, I don't want him to stay in grade 3, go to grade 4. Graduate. So death of the body, that's the only death, and it is a graduation. When someone dies, I'm not saying we should celebrate their death, we shouldn't grieve their death. We should remember them. They lived a full life and they are continuing. That's what happens. And this is a classic example, if you believe what I'm saying. This knowledge alleviates all fear then, isn't it? But as long as this knowledge is not here, so unknown, there's so much fear. Yesterday, your reflection adventure of the day was to think about 3 fears we all have. Here is your reflection adventure of the upcoming day. And really it's just a short day because we're meeting again tomorrow at 8 a.m. For the next 12 hours, I want you to visualize that everyone you see can read your mind. For the next 12 hours, when you see someone, they see you, you have to visualize that they can read your mind. The source of the symptoms is the mind. The nature of the mind is doubts and thoughts and desires. You have to visualize that people can see that mind. Good? Just lock yourself in a room for the next 12 hours. Okay. I'm going to take a few more minutes, as in less than 5, because tomorrow, Vyasa, Sheila, and I are leaving Seattle. We're completing our 18-day trip to the West Coast. And the last time I was here was in 2015, and before that, 2012. It seems there's a 3-year pattern that's going on. We live in a beautiful time where if we can't see each other physically, we certainly can virtually. And I do see some of you virtually. I teach a lot of courses online, and it is through God's grace that I got into this, because eventually Vyasa will have to go to school, and I may not be able to travel as much, but that doesn't mean I have to stop studying and sharing. I teach Bhagavad Gita on Tuesdays, Atma Bodha on Thursdays, and Ramayana on Sundays. And I'm inviting all of you to join in these virtual classes. I'm about to finish all of them, actually. But in September, I'll start new texts. One of them I brought over here. On Tuesday nights, I'm going to start teaching meditation and life, chapter by chapter. On Thursdays, I'm going to start teaching Upadesha Sara. On Sundays, I'm going to complete Ramayana and then begin Bhagavatam. This is called Vedanta in Ramayana. It's not a story only. What does this have to do with me? Tuesdays for individuals. You can study by yourself. Thursdays is for study groups. You have to study with a group of people. You cannot study by yourself. Sundays, the whole center has to study. It's very beautiful on Sunday mornings to see Portland, Raleigh, Cleveland. So many entire centers come and study Ramayana. And I'll tell you how to access this. Let me continue. The second virtual opportunity is Every second week, I write down what I'm learning in life in the form of a e-vichar. I think some of you get this. How many of you get the e-vichar? I do this because when I write, it becomes much more clear for me. And I wrote about Mahashivratri recently. I'm now writing about what Bhagwan Rama did in the 4 months he didn't travel due to the rainy season. It's a really amazing part of Ramayana. He says in this that mean friends are like lightning. They come in fast and they leave fast. You know what a cool way to think of mean friends as lightning. So don't get lost with mean friends. They're like lightning. They came in fast, they will leave fast too. The third, if a course is too demanding, thoughts are too demanding, every day I share messages online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's amazing. Everyone told me, don't post on LinkedIn. This is for finding jobs. Every day there's 500 views of these rads on LinkedIn. Because people need it the most at work. Right? That's why 400 people listen to Amazon, because they need it. Don't tell people I said that. So you can check out these messages on these various social media platforms. Search Vichara Gurukula. Kula means family. Guru means guide. A family that's being guided in vichara, in thinking. Search this. Let's continue with our satsang, rather than this having to end tomorrow at 11 a.m. Deal? Since I have these books in my hand, if you can't be in physical satsang all the time, which you can't, the next best way to be in satsang is with the words of the wise. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi has said, my life is my message. So if I read about his life, I'm reading about his message, no? 3 books I'd like to highlight, in addition to all of the great books in the back. Number 1 is Self-Unfoldment. Every one of you should read this, and when you're done, after you've rinsed, repeat. You purified your mind some, repeat again. This is a surreal book to make us think. From freedom, which I think is chapter 1, to happiness, which is the last chapter. I taught this on Thursdays, and I made a big mistake not to record those classes, because this was a fantastic course that hundreds of us did together. After you start to think, number 2 is you have to change your lifestyle. This is a lifestyle book. This is a thinking book, a lifestyle book. Bhaja Govindam, also known as Moha Mudgaya. It's a hammer to delusion, confusion. It teaches us what the purpose of education is, marriage is, wealth is, etc., etc., etc. To support your study of this, we did study this on Thursdays, and we did record this. Every shloka, there's half an hour of elaboration on this. So it's a full-out course you can do on Moha Mudgaya. Once your lifestyle is changed, then we are ready for heavier sadhana. What's the most important word here in meditation and life? Life. The fulfillment of meditation is not with your eyes closed, but with your eyes open. Read this, and then if you choose to be in our course on Tuesdays, you'll be ready as we go deeper and more practically into meditation and life. These books are in the back. This book is maybe $8 or $10. You're paying like 0.01 cents a page. You're making money, just use it for the paper. In addition to the philosophy. Amazing, these texts. Fine. I had a meeting with some of the workers in Chinmaya Mission Seattle right before we started. And I shared with them that the greatest strength of Chinmaya Mission is credibility. In North America, we have 20,000 Balagar students. 20,000 kids come and study the scriptures like we're doing. A lot of the young adults you see here, Mira, Ashita, Megha, Sanchit Malvi, I've known them for many years. from San Jose, Chicago, Alpharetta, Atlanta. They've gone through Bala Vihar, and now they're giving back, no? You go to a typical mandir, a typical organization, how old is everyone? They're on their way out. They're on their way in and giving, no? 20,000 Bala Vihar students because of credibility. Local organizations, local mandirs, they have some people, but they don't have 20,000. Credibility. I said about Chinmaya Mission Seattle specifically, this is a raw material center. Like our son Vyasa, we can try to train Vyasa into being a dancer. He can be aloof. Right, he's raw material. You can, we sound like negligent. We really can, we can teach him Tamil, even though we don't know Tamil, but we can teach him Tamil, correct? You can't teach me Tamil, I can barely speak English. Seattle, Chinmaya Mission Seattle is beginning into whatever culture we want to create. So let's create this culture together, starting fresh. And I have offered to help in any and every way I can, whether it's through meetings, whether it's through satsangs, whether it's financially, anything. Because the most frustrating part of the work I do is when I meet individuals who are not living up to their potential, and centers also. And I'm not expressing my frustration here, but I know your potential. Pittsburgh, have you even heard of Pittsburgh? Chinmaya Mission Pittsburgh in 1 year went from 200 Bala Vihar students to 600. I don't know why I said 300, 600. The last 2 years, we've raised $2.5 million in this city of less than 2.5 million people. And we bought 10 acres, we're building a new ashram, building a retreat center. And this is one of the dying cities in America. It was one of the dying cities. You're totally the opposite, one of the most fast-growing cities in America. Help is what I'm sharing. The best help is follow these teachings. That is effort. Next best help is give your time. Give your effort, give your time. Time is more difficult to give than money. Come and move chairs. Set up the bookstore. Open your basement to these classes. Teach Bala Vihar. Every Bala Vihar teacher I've met has said they learned more about Sanatana Dharma here than living in Bharat. True? This Bala Vihar is not for kids, it's for the teachers. And give your resources. We can't use the Baha'i Center beginning in September because they need all of the space, so we need to find a different space. And on and on and on. It would be most beautiful to have our own ashram. Today, Divya was saying, don't we have an ashram? I said, no, you have to have your own home to have an ashram. Just like my parents, they moved to Canada and lived with someone. Then they rented a place. Then they lived on top of their workplace. Then they bought a home. And they never got into building their own home. But see how that independence they practice with themselves. I feel instead of building their own home, my parents helped build Chinmaya Dhara, as in buy Chinmaya Dhara, which is a great way for a couple to evolve. And now Niagara's helped Chinmaya Hanuman in London. And we will help Chinmaya Mission Seattle also. If they don't, I will. Because they're Canadian and they feel America is different. America is different. Tomorrow, at the completion of our workshop, all of you have an opportunity to offer dakshina. Dakshina is when you feel more dakshata. Dakshata means you feel more skilled. You've grown. You're quieter. Give your resources. That way we can do more. Isn't it? You have to spend money to make money. You have to invest to be able to go higher. And we all do that in our corporations, in our homes, but this is deeper. More should be given. Back in the day, the mandirs and ashrams were supported by the king. And where did the king get money from? Rich people, the merchants. And he supported. They supported the mandirs and ashrams. We all still think like we're in the Puranas. Bhagwan Rama will give money. And relatedly, then for the last 1,000 years, invaders have been stealing from Bharat, no? Today, President Trump signed $1.3 trillion in spending for America. I read a report that said $1 trillion in wealth has been stolen from India and exists in the world that belongs to India, but is just not in India. More than $1 trillion. So we think that we should hold on in case someone steals from us. The only one who can take anything from you is the IRS. And if they're going to take from you, you deserve for that to be taken. So give generously. There's no more kings. There's no more invaders. Give generously so we can keep on doing more for multiple generations, forever. My 25-year dream is to start a Chinmaya Vichara Gurukula where these young adults, their kids will come and live with me for 12 years. When they go to grade 1, they actually come to live there. They study like the Gurukula days. I was fortunate, I got to do a full Gurukula in 25 months. And thankfully they accepted dumb 23-year-olds like me. But imagine having a 6-year-old raw material to teach them to be infinite. That's my 25-year dream. And it is through everyone's support that this will be possible. I have no doubt that this too will manifest. And you'll be given special privileges to meet your kids, but not a lot. Or to break your attachment also. So tomorrow when we complete our workshop, then all of you can offer your dakshina, and I will give you prasad. We have really great prasad for you, not food, okay? You're thinking, really? Pizza? Tacos? Much better than that. We will offer you prasad, and then I will be on my way. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. If any of the organizers need to share anything, do so. If not, proceed.
Thank you everyone for coming. We'll see you all nice and early at 8 in the morning tomorrow. There's prasad and bowl for that.